This week on The Grind, we start our season in Canada with Prairie Limits Outfitters, hunting ducks and geese in the vast fields of Saskatchewan.
I yearn for a place to call my own. I'm going home. Say what you will, I'll be better for it still. I've been wondering what you're doing with your time, just to get you off my mind. I'm in the grind.
The Grind Waterfowl TV is brought to you by Dakota Decoy, premium gunning decoys for demanding hunters. Lucky Duck, masters of deception. Rio, official ammunition of The Grind. Share the experience. Mud Buddy, the king of mud motors. Excel, the boat to own. Cornerstone Gundog Academy, the world's most accessible online retriever training program. High Mountain Seasonings, handcrafted jerky, seasonings, and meat processing tools. Sitka Gear, turning clothing into gear. Alps Outdoors, exceed your expectations. Benelli, simply perfect. And these fine sponsors. This segment is brought to you by Mud Buddy and Excel Boats.
Finally, the first hunt of the season is here. We're on our way to western Saskatchewan, almost there to visit Prairie Limit Outfitters. It's early October this year. You know, the bottom's already dropped out here in the upper Midwest and into Canada. Last week or two, it's been high 20s, low 30s overnight, and you know, the colors up here are already changing. Been seeing a bunch of birds around, snow geese, Canada geese, a bunch of ducks. We're really getting excited for this. First time of the year, it always gets your blood flowing. Canada, the birds should be plentiful. Really looking forward to this trip.
Ben Webster with Prairie Limits Outfitters, head guide, co-owner. We have a brand new lodge in western Saskatchewan, Canada. We have a little area here that's not necessarily a hidden secret, but there's not a lot of big cities around us. The hunting's very good. We hunt sloughs, lots of fields, lesser specks, snows, multiple species of ducks, swath fields, pea fields. We typically hunt twice a day unless we combo in the morning.
Like many times before, the guys hit the gas station when they get to town and head out scouting.
Oh boy, there's a bunch of greenheads in there.
Is that it?
This is it. Look, they're coming in from the north up there.
Oh, they are. They're not staying on that slough, are they?
No, they're coming from all over. And coming a long ways. And there was no snows here when I was watching it. Now there's snow.
We're watching a cut wheat field. Been cut in the last week or so. We've had a pretty good migration in the last probably week or so. We had a really nice push. It's been pretty cold. It's been wet. Lots of clouds. We haven't seen a lot of sun. Got a really nice feed going on. A lot of honkers, lesser specks. Some snows have moved in. There's ducks as well. We're a little worried. Some of them are roosting on this big water hole. My scouts told me they aren't, so that will be to be determined. But we'll go from there. We'll probably use the Dakota X blinds in the morning and run about 10 dozen Dakota full bodies with some spinners, some Lucky Duck spinners on remotes, and we'll see what happens. We'll just adult blights.
It's the first night in town and Ben has already found a good one. It's one big field with snows, darks, and ducks coming from a few different roosts. The only hang-up, Ben is worried about the slough in the field pulling working birds and maybe even becoming a roost. Either way, we're headed to camp with a spot to hunt. This segment is brought to you by Rio Ammunition.
Well, we are in Saskatchewan this morning with Ben Webster from Prairie Limit Outfitters. Ben's become a really good friend of ours. We met him and started hunting with him in Kansas at Big Kansas Outdoors, and he now has a Canada operation in Saskatchewan, and this is our first morning, first day of the year actually for us. We're all pretty excited. Got us out of the office. We're ready to shoot some birds. So we're going to set up on the edge of this pond, and so they're hitting the wheat field and then bumping into the water. So we're going to set right up on the pond edge and try and shoot ducks and geese. First morning, kind of get the rust out. No one really knows where anything is. Kind of the dry run, so we're pretty excited here in Saskatchewan, Canada.
We're gonna have the wind at our back, not a lot of wind, probably 3 to 7 miles an hour. We're gonna set about 10 dozen full bodies, a couple dozen full body ducks. We'll put some Lucky Duck HDs on remotes and hopefully shoot our darks this morning and some ducks. If we don't shoot all our ducks, we're gonna go back out tonight in another field. Should be a good morning.
Waterfowl season's finally upon us. First morning, feels great. 30 degrees, perfect weather. It's gonna be a fun hunt out here with Ben Webster. We're gonna have a good time.
The morning light appears and the excitement of the season's first hunt fills the air just as the first bird arrives.
Good shot. So Tim, I was curious if my long-range choke tube was going to be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smoked them?
Yeah. My confidence level is high.
Hey Tim,
Yeah.
do you hear me get real loud?
Uh-huh.
And they're on a corner?
Yep.
Go ahead and turn them on.
All right.
The tough part about the hunt was we had no wind, it was cloudy, and the birds that morning wanted to go water to water for some reason, so that hurt us a little bit, but we did get some nice groups of Canadas to finish. Good work. Way better, way better. They're starting to filter in pretty nice now, so we'll see how the rest of the day goes.
Get him, Betty.
Kill them.
Shot, Tim.
There we go.
Nice.
Good shot.
That was good.
Yeah.
First bird of the season.
There you go. Kill him. Good shot, guys. Nice. Smoked him.
Frustration. Finally.
With the variety of birds up here, you're hunting the same field that has ducks and geese in it. And we had our super goose flapper going and 3-4 spinners going. And we had remotes for each one, and that was very important to do that, because when we had the geese working, we had the flapper going and the spinners off. And then when we had ducks working, we turned the flapper off and had the spinners going. So it's really important to integrate that remote system into your motion decoys.
Woo!
Good shooting there, guys.
There we go.
Okay. The long range tube definitely makes a powder puff on them when they're in tight.
This segment is brought to you by Dakota Decoy. The first hunt of the year was underway and the waterfowl were plentiful. The trip was on track to be a great one.
Nice shot. Get it, Max.
There we go.
Kill him, wiggle. Nice shooting. Kill him.
Just getting a little bit wide over here, aren't they? They like Tim's end. They know where they're safe. Come on, little love. That was good. That was good.
They're dead. Kill him. 3 in the hole, 3 dead.
We decided to call the morning hunt to leave quite a few ducks, and we knew it was a duck hunt in the afternoon. We weren't after dark geese.
The land of living skies was holding true to its namesake. It seemed the whole hunt there was waterfowl in the sky. Even after the main flight, there were birds buzzing back and forth from slough to slough. Birds that aren't feeding in your field are commonly called traffic, and getting those traffic ducks over top of the spinners is often a winning ticket. Even though the heavy clouds and no wind wasn't ideal weather for field hunting on the prairie, the hide and the spread picked up the slack. We packed the Dakotas and Luckies, cleaned up our empty Rios, and took off for some breakfast.
I got to throw Tim under the bus just a bit here. There's lowlands, and Tim's mammoth of a truck happened to find one of them. It turned into a typical adventure where we had a stuck truck. We couldn't get it with my old Suburban, so we had a little train going. We had my truck hooked to Tim's truck, Ben's truck hooked to my truck, and we were able to pull it out. But Tim's not going to hear the end of this one.
300,000 miles. Still going strong.
So we rallied that afternoon, went to a pea field we've been watching for a while. It's been getting hit really hard by mallards and pintails in the evening.
We're gonna set up 2-3 dozen full body Canada Dakotas, and then a couple dozen duck full bodies, and a couple flashers, and we'll be good to go. It's a real simple setup. Get the X-blinds going, so it'll be a quick setup for our duck hunt here this afternoon. We probably got a couple hours of daylight and get after them.
Primarily ducks only. We shot a few ducks this morning. We're going to finish out our limit here. We'll see how it goes. We're going to big bush out in the middle with the Dakota X blinds. We're running about 4 to 5 dozen 6 series just for looks, and then we're running 3 dozen Dakota mallard full bodies as well.
So we put out a really small spread of decoys and 1 HD and some field flashers, Lucky Duck's new product.
These field flashers we're going to use for the flash to attract the ducks are just a super slick setup. You can probably fit about 5 or 6 of these in a 5-gallon bucket.
And it was incredible. I mean, the ducks were coming to us with the trucks and the trailer still sitting there, so we knew we were in for something special.
Yeah, look at that. I'm standing right here and they're landing in the deep.
I think we're good.
We were setting the decoys up, still had the trucks in the field, and we got ducks landing all around us. And you know, at that moment it was like, all right, this is going to be a heck of a shoot.
We had ducks landing in the decoys with the X-blinds uncovered. Now, one thing when you hunt with Ben, you will find he does not leave any I's undotted. He is a perfectionist, and we just had to get some cover cut. It does look better. He's a perfectionist, and we'll get her done here. Ducks are just starting to move. So they were landing with the trucks in here. You'd think they'd land with just a few of us hunters ready to hunt. So we'll see what happens.
This segment is brought to you by Lucky Duck Premium Decoys.
Smoke. Put the truck. Put the truck in the field. They like the truck.
The birds are in a little tight. I've had my Carlson long range in. It's going to mid range. We've had ducks at about 10 to 15 yards. Mid-range is better, 1 for 1. I was shooting slugs, I think, at these 10-yard ducks, so I put the mid-range choke tube in, and the first couple ducks came in, I gave them a warning shot, and then I got them out there about 30 yards and hit them, so I went to mid-range, and that's better.
Got them.
Good shot.
Nice, shooting drakes, boys, good.
The morning hunt, the field we were in, basically was a honker hunt. We had shot some ducks, but we had quite a few ducks to fill our limit, so that's why they found this pea field for us. And it was kind of fun because they just kept coming to us, and it's one of those gentleman's hunts because we actually got to take turns. We'd call somebody out, let them make a shot, and it's a great way to
Come on,
hunt.
boys, kill the drake.
Nice shot.
That's a drake. Yeah, they're hard to find, but if you be patient, let the kids thin out the hens, then the drakes stand out better.
Saskatchewan wasn't holding back that afternoon. Flock after flock came over the poplars, knowing full well they'd be landing in the spread. Everything was in our favor. We were hunting a pea field, a favorite for ducks in the north, and they were set on having peas for dinner. On top of that, the X-blinds were set right in the middle of the field. No edge nearby, with branches and grass for cover. And while the big bush blind is certainly out of place in the middle of a pea field, the ducks couldn't care less when the cover is good and no hard edges of the blind or people are visible. Add on Lucky Ducks sprinkled throughout the Dakotas and a good wind at our back, and the setup was perfect.
But these ducks just wanted to be in that pea field. I mean, it was like candy to them.
I just let Tim shoot the old Benelli M1 20 gauge, and I think he's going to order one.
It was very nice.
No recoil.
No recoil.
Yeah.
Smooth.
You burn through more ammo though because you're ready to shoot faster.
Yeah. Fire away.
Fire away. Well, we're wrapping up day one here in Saskatchewan with Ben Webster and Prairie Limits Outfitters, and we just finished up on a really good pea field mallard shoot or duck shoot. A lot of mallards, a lot of pintails. Gray day.
Gray, a little bit of wind.
A little bit of wind.
Cool.
Yeah, sun and ducks is best, but didn't seem to matter.
Yeah.
I barely picked my call up. I just kind of held on to the 20 gauge and watched the lucky ducks.
You enjoyed that 20 gauge today,
That
didn't you?
20 gauge, the old pea shooter. But we're gonna get cleaned up, get the decoys picked up. We're gonna go have some duck poppers. Get ready for day two.
Absolutely.
No different than Kansas, Ben put us on the birds for our first hunt of the season. We took our time picking up the spread while we chatted about the flocks of the day, and we went back to the lodge to eat some duck with a lot less itch in our trigger fingers.
Definitely a diet for me when I get home because they fed us unbelievable food. Breakfast and the dinners were unreal. So the housing, the food, everything about it is just top notch.
Other than phenomenal hunting with Prairie Limits Outfitters, we want, you know, a fantastic lodging, we want fantastic hunting, we want the whole experience to be, you know, exactly what you would want when coming to Canada.
This being the first hunt of the year, you know, it's always a really exciting time for all of us because get friends back together and hunt together and share stories. And I think everybody experiences that with the first hunt of the year. You get your buddies together and it's like you haven't missed a beat and you just pick up where you left off last year, and that's exactly what we did.
Next week on The Grind, the Alps blinds are in the swaths and the ducks are at the end of our barrels.